Hey guys, welcome to Life Updates. So basically, I went hiking a week ago and then was paying for it this week because my joints, my leg joints, my hips and my knees decided to stop working. So I had to call out for work one day, and then my other work days, I had to get a ride to work, and I fell down at one point. I had to go to the bathroom and rub Tiger Balm into my hips every hour or two, and it was generally unpleasant. So I can't go on long hiking trips, and I'm having a hard time. Like today, I was able to walk. Today, I was able to reorganize my bookcases and my pens and markers and stuff. So that was good. But that was around the house. And I'm not used to it, I used to hike. I used to go on long walks, like every day, hours, and carrying like 50 to 100 pounds of crap on my back. And now I can't walk 10, 10 pounds of crap on my back for 3 miles or 5 miles or however much I was walking. And that is bullshit. And I hate it. Not, I'm not happy about it. And especially since my dietitian wants me to exercise for 20 minutes after every meal. And that is not realistic for me. Again, because my joints aren't working. And so I have a higher energy level than I did in my first trimester, but I still don't have a high energy level. You know what I mean? I was able to get up and move around and do some housework today, but that's not an everyday thing. And let's see, my OB has declared me a high-risk pregnancy. That is, it is what it is, but there's a chance that I'll have to quit work as an employee and then work from home as an independent contractor because reasons that I'm not getting into. And my dietitian is a judgmental bitch, basically. And changing dietitians won't work because all the medical staff are kind of one mind. Basically, so my first OB had said I was pre-diabetic, because of, my blood sugar tested a little high, and that was my fault because for like the last 3.5 years, I had, had multiple pieces of candy from the candy jar per workday. And that's in addition to, bagels, donuts, cakes, cookies, whatever the other staff brought in. Okay. And I did overindulge. So that is my fault. However, I was pre-diabetic, and my dietitian or nutritionist or, whatever pegged me as diabetic so that she could push pills on me, basically. Like, she wanted me to do insulin, but I refused because needles. No, not doing needles. So she prescribed me metformin, which actually elevated my blood sugar, so I stopped taking it because I felt it was too much of a risk. And she wanted to put me on a baby aspirin regimen, and I learned from a good friend that aspirin is really, really bad for fetuses because it can induce miscarriage. And I am having my first non-miscarriage pregnancy so far. This is the first time that I've had a baby last past the first trimester. Okay, I didn't even think I would be able to carry a baby to term. I'm still not entirely sure about that, as a matter of fact. So I do not want to do anything to exacerbate that risk. And let's see, she wanted me to go on metformin. She wanted me to go on aspirin. What else did she want? Oh yeah, so she suggested that I eat less fruit and more cheese. That is a recipe for constipation, potentially, so that she could prescribe stool softeners. not gonna do that. I am not by any means one of those like all natural hippie people, but I do want to avoid extraneous medication as much as possible. So I would rather have a glass of juice or have an apple or something to, you know, get things moving if they need to, rather than take a stool softener. Okay. Now, I understand that just because something is more natural doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you, like, you know, poison dart frogs or, you know, the destroying angels, those mushrooms that can kill you if you eat them. Okay, those are natural and organic, but you don't want to consume them, okay? But I do trust fruit more than I trust pills, okay? I have been extremely careful about the painkillers that I take, if I take them. As I mentioned, for my joints, I was rubbing Tiger Balm into them because, you know, ointments, I don't think that's going to cross the placenta. I'm pretty sure it's not. So I'd rather do that if it helps. And I'm doing an Epsom salt bath right now, which is why I'm not clothed. I actually did another draft of this video, but I had to delete it. A, because it ran super long, and B, because I stretched at one point, and you're not supposed to show chestage on YouTube if you're not physically male. So anyway, I do not like this dietitian, and yeah, switching wouldn't help. They're all kind of one mind. I mean, some of them are less into pushing drugs than others, but all of them are going to scold me for eating cereal, even though, you know, WIC pays for my cereal. So obviously it can't be that bad, because I'm not eating, you know, it's not like Fruit Loops and Cocoa Puffs, but they're still like, oh, you had Cheerios. And it's like, it's the unsweetened, it's not the Honey Nut, okay? It's the unsweetened, it's the plain Cheerios, you know, 1% milk, 1% has the most protein. It's just ridiculous, okay? Like, half the time I don't even want to fill out my food chart because they're going to be like, shame on you. And I don't feel like being infantilized because, yeah, I was eating like crap before. I'm not eating like crap now. I mean, I'm eating actually pretty healthy now. Like, I do not like, I like vegetables, but I'm very picky about them. I'm picky about which ones I'll eat and how they're prepared. Okay, but I used celery as a vehicle for peanut butter because having a sandwich would drive up my blood sugar. Okay, so, you know, little changes like that. And yeah, it still runs a little bit high sometimes because, you know, my body's still adjusting to the fact that I'm not eating. Like, it'll run really high or it'll run really low, or it'll, you know, do both in the same day. Because my body's adjusting to the fact that I'm eating different. And honestly, the food chart and the feedback that I've gotten on the food chart from the nutrition staff had made me afraid to eat at some points. And even when my baby is kicking me and saying, hey, we're hungry. We're hungry. Like, yeah, I know we're hungry, but anything that I eat is going to drive up my blood sugar, and then I'm going to get yelled at. So I don't want to deal with that, you know. And so much of my life has become about just avoiding conflict, and it is so stressful. Like, my dad got mad at me because, so I've been needing a new bed for a while. My old bed frame broke, and I've been sleeping on a mattress covered with, you know, memory foam. And it's on the floor now. And I decided to wait to get a new mattress for another couple of weeks, okay? Because recently, one of my friends died, and I paid for her partner to fly out to visit her funeral, okay? And for me, that was the right thing to do, because the friend that I paid to see her funeral, okay, she has been a dear friend to me for a very, very long time, and she needed to see her partner laid to rest, okay? And, you know, it wasn't on a whim. and it wasn't irresponsible. I had the money. It was, half of what I had at the time. So I sent it. She offered to pay me back. I accepted. I told her to pay me back in installments. And also, I got a new phone because the old one was not functioning properly anymore. So I took the opportunity to get one that has, a little bit more storage space. And it's working really well for me so far anyway. So I had a little bit less money than I would have liked to. So I wanted to wait until my next payday before I bought the bed frame. Okay. And, then I saw that I could just do monthly payments, which I don't like doing monthly payments, but I will if I have to. Anyway, my dad made such a huge deal about it. Like, it's not like I sent someone, close to $500 because, just because we're friends. It's because this was an emergency situation. She's not going to get another chance to see her loved one. And, it was just what I had to do. So, and I could do both. It's just, so my savings account, it's at a bank that I trust. But one of the stipulations is that I have to keep the balance above a certain number, or else it will charge me. Instead of getting interest, I'll be getting the opposite of that. So while I do technically have the money to buy the bed frame all in one go, I chose to wait until I wouldn't have to risk pulling that much out of the savings so that it dips below the balance that the bank wants me to have in it. But I will be doing monthly just, again, to avoid conflict. And meanwhile, oh my God, like, for those of you who actually have healthy relationships with your parents, you're not gonna comprehend this. I can't talk to my dad about anything. Like, he smokes, and I've been told by so many people, oh, you shouldn't be around smoke, it's bad for the baby. Well, I can't do anything about it, okay? I have an air purifier running full blast. We have charcoal bags, like he bought charcoal bags just so he'd be able to smoke, and you wouldn't be able to smell it, but you can still smell it. I wear an N95 mask whenever I have to be in the same room, and I have like multiple inhalers, and I got a new one that I need to pick up from the pharmacy. So I'm making all of these accommodations that I shouldn't have to make just because he won't fucking go outside or stop smoking, and I cannot talk to him about it. It is impossible. I will get shouted down for it, and like, it's so frustrating trying to explain that to people, and a lot of people just don't get it, and I can't move out. Okay. Actually, he wants to move out. He wants to move into a 1-bedroom. He's on a wait list, but what he really wants is to just get the keys to the place next door because our neighbor has been in the hospital for a while. We're not sure if she's still alive, but she's definitely not coming back. So he wants that specific apartment, which is fine for me. Like, he has literally told me that when my baby is born, if I can't figure out what he wants and quiet him down fast enough, he's gonna yell at the baby to shut the fuck up. So that's not helpful to me. And like, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to reduce stress, and I'm trying to do things like as holistically as possible, without dipping into the like, there's some holistic things that are supported scientifically, and there's some that are not so much. So I'm staying on, the practical side. Like, as I said, Epsom salt bath, pain relieving ointment, things like that. I think I'm gonna put up my aromatherapy machine later. I've been really stressed out, you guys. And I'm hoping that it gets better. It's just, I have to deal with people who are really, really selfish. Like, they're focused on how they feel and how this is affecting them, even though literally everybody, okay, who does not have my child growing inside of them is less affected by this than me. And I just want to beat that into people sometimes, and I'm getting really frustrated and really tense. Oh, another thing. So I mentioned I was high risk. Okay, I'm also at risk for hypertension. And I think I'm okay to take propranolol. Like, I know I'm not okay to take Atarax. Atarax is dangerous, but I've been okay to take propranolol. Now, yesterday, I did so, and it felt actually pretty nice. It was, just one dose. Usually I take 2. And I don't want to, because I get stuck in habits and my brain gets stuck in loops, I don't want to become reliant on that as a coping mechanism. I know that propranolol is not habit forming. However, my brain forms habits. So that's another reason I want to stay off pills as much as possible. But last night I was having a panic attack. I was freaking out. I had my first asthma attack in at least 6 months, probably a year. Good news, my inhaler still works. I'm still gonna pick up the new one on, I guess, Friday, but yeah. Yeah, Friday is when my next appointment is, so that's good. And my dad is at least taking me to and from my appointments. He's taking me to and from work as well. And, that affects him. That, I'm okay with giving him gas money and all that, but it's the other stuff, like the whole, him claiming that I'm having a bitchy attitude when it's hormones. Like, I'm stressed out and I have, hormonal things that are happening. And he's, he had 3 wives, so all of whom had children by him. So he should remember this shit from 30 to 50 years ago. Anyway, I have an appointment I have a phone consult with a counselor tomorrow, and I'm also going to check in about the nurse partnership program for first-time mothers. And I am, again, doing the best I can in getting what I need to the extent possible. I'm just really stressed out because, I feel like, not to be a diva, but I feel like people should be going out of their way to make this a peaceful time for me, just because pregnancy is extremely stressful, but a lot of people just don't comprehend that. And there's one person who understands it really, really, really well. And this person had also gone through stressful ass pregnancies with people who are varying degrees of unsupportive, so they understand what I'm talking about perfectly. And I've been leaning on them a lot, and they've been really reassuring, and I'm grateful for it. I just, I feel like I'm unloading on my friends a lot, so obviously I need a counselor. I know it's short-term counseling, but she's going to try and help me find a long-term counselor if I need it, which I will. And Nurse Family Partnership also offers counseling, and hopefully can also find a counselor for other members of the household who need someone to talk to that isn't me. Oh. But anyway, other than all the stress, I'm actually feeling pretty well. Other than the stress and the joint pains and the asthma and the hypertension, I don't know how to phrase it, okay? I'm laughing because I can hear how awkward that all sounds, but no, physically, with the baby and everything, I'm doing fine. The baby kicks and is very active, tends to kick when we're hungry, and tends to also do so when I'm emotionally distressed. So I know that my moods also affect the baby's development, which kind of, it worries me a little bit just because of, all the stress that I'm going through. But on the other hand, in every single sonogram that I've had, there has been a smile. Like, the baby, I guess sees that it's being scanned and then just makes this face. It's so cute! Like, it's so adorable! I posted them up on my Instagram, and, no, they're adorable, and the cheeks are fuller now. It used to be like a little alien face, like really, really pointy. Now has like little full little cheeks and like a little chin, and I can't tell between my ex and me who it looks like, but considering I've never seen him make that face, maybe I'll be able to see more when the baby comes out. But oh my god, I hope that it has my temperament, like my my demeanor, really, because I was an easy baby. I was an easy child. Well, except for that one 14-hour flight from Switzerland to the United States. I was not, my parents and I were not popular passengers on that flight. However, otherwise I was easy, obedient. Like, someone would say, don't touch that, that's not yours, and I wouldn't touch it. And I remember being mostly a quiet kid who read a lot. So, and I remember before I was 10, before I went into the system, I was actually really, sensitive, as in, caring, I guess. I was an innocent being, and I didn't cause trouble, unless I was being provoked, and such like. What I understand about my ex is that he required pretty much constant stimulation, and if my kid is like that, I may need to apply for in-home support or in-home respite, because I don't have a lot of energy, but I also want to make sure that my baby's needs are provided for. So, really, really hope it's like me. As much as I've resented my ex for putting me in this situation, I am happy to actually be having the baby. Like, it's gonna be my only biological child. I'm having a tubal ligation, and then any other children that I take care of are going to be fostered or adopted, because I'm 29. Okay, I do not want more kids after this. I kind of figured that my whole medical history would come back to bite me, because this was an unplanned pregnancy. I just want to make that very, very clear. Now, as soon as I knew that I was pregnant, I absolutely wanted the child. I absolutely do. Okay. I'm not going to terminate it, unless the baby is dying or causing me to die. So, it's a wanted baby. It just, because of my medical history and because of my, the fact that I hadn't previously been able to keep a baby past the first trimester, I did not want to get pregnant, and I was put in a position, there wasn't a way that I could get out of the situation, okay? It wasn't, it wasn't, like, physically forceful, or it wasn't that. I was coerced, okay? And I don't know. But as much as I resented my ex for putting me in that position of, you know, of getting pregnant, having a child, and all that, it's not. I'm not one of those people who's gonna hold my experiences with him against my child, because babies are innocent. I understand, the theory of generational trauma, and I understand, like, if you've read The Anatomy of Violence, or in my case heard it on audiobook, there's a great book, it's called The Anatomy of Violence, and it talks about how if, you know one or both parents was had antisocial like tendencies, or violent tendencies, or antisocial like behavior, um and maternal rejection was involved, like if she tried and failed to abort the fetus, the baby had a higher chance of growing up into someone predisposed to violence. And I understand that that works with other traits as well. Okay. I understand that there are traits that the baby could acquire from my messed up side of the family, or my ex's messed up side of the family. And I'm as prepared as I can be for something like that. But one thing that my grandmother did to my dad that really messed my dad up was any time that my dad did something that she didn't like, she would tell him, "You're just like your father." And so my dad had that shadow hanging over his head his whole life. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with putting my kid through that. So, yeah, once again, I really hope the kid comes out like me. But if it doesn't, I guess I'm just gonna have to deal with it and get as much assistance as possible from professionals who are trained in dealing with people with needs. People with needs that I am less equipped to deal with, I guess. I know every kid has kind of different, everyone's different. But I want to be fair, and I'm not going to be, like, telling tales on my ex to the baby or anything like that. I'm not going to be like, "Oh yeah, your dad was such and such, and he did this thing that nobody approved of," because that's really mean. Like, don't do that to your kids. Even, personal drama stays personal, I think. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it at that, but cheers, guys, and thank you for sticking with me through my life updates.